So she's dead, and then the next scene is him at his chalkboards. I don't know, sometime later.
Exponential growth on the chalkboards, by the way. He starts with 1 and then he has 8.
Yeah. So 1 beard length of time later.
Yeah.
He has all these chalkboards covered in just gibberish.
Formulas.
Right? Equations and electrons and whatnot. And his friend that I guess introduced him to Emma, or it doesn't matter. It's a friend that's in the movie for about 23 milliseconds, and it doesn't matter.
I can't help thinking, somewhere in the universe, there has to be something better than man. There has to be.
All right.
That was loud.
Is that the start?
All right.
You did the all right.
That's it. I heard
all right,
the all right.
boys.
That means we're rolling. There's no turning back now.
Oh, yeah, we're back for another one.
LFG.
All right, I'm Spenny, and tonight's a special night because we've got our Bugle Boys back. Our little music man, Bryan.
I thought, did you just call
Welcome
us?
back.
It sounded like you called us the Bugle Boys. I've got the Bugle Boys back.
Oh, and Jad's here too.
Yeah, I'm a Beagle Boy tonight.
Yeah. We're here. We're ready.
We're here. We're ready.
Yeah, Bryan is back finally for the audience.
Yeah.
It's finally.
They're all waiting.
In real time for us, it's only been a week, I think.
Yeah.
But it's been a long week.
It has.
Welcome
man.
back.
We out here.
Jad, how's your love affair with the show Severance?
It continues to be my favorite thing I've ever seen. The best thing I've ever seen.
Better than Star Trek.
Yeah.
Jad
that's how serious I'm about this.
He's going to die on a hill because he is now saying Severance is the greatest show he has ever seen.
And it hasn't even
in his
finished
entire life. And there's only been like 3 or 4 episodes.
Full stop. I'm in.
God, it's just such a final statement.
Here's the qualifier, because these 4 episodes have been so good that even if the next 4 or 5, however long the season is, tank, it's so far above anything else I've seen that it will still be the best.
Well, clearly the story and continuity and like where it's going and where it might end up is irrelevant, if you can say that.
Yeah. That's exactly my point.
Really?
You've made my point. Yes.
Wow.
The ending at this point is irrelevant.
I mean, the show is literally an onion. Like you reveal a new layer, and then there's another layer. So it's like you get some closure on one piece, but then another piece opens.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's a great show. I'm really enjoying it. But
I think I've figured it out.
No, okay.
Well,
I've spent a lot of time.
You know what I
thinking
think
about
we
this,
should
and
do? I think we should
Yeah.
cover that one when the season's done, and we'll touch on it and determine.
Yeah,
if
we can
it was
dive into
really-
that.
If it was really even that good.
Totally. All right, boys. Anything going on in your worlds? Anything exciting happened this week?
I mean, I definitely had a typical day scenario, but that's for the end of the.
That's at the tail end.
That's at the tail end.
Typical day segment has returned, so you have to stay tuned for the full episode if you want to hear that.
I did want to tell you guys. There's one thing that happened this week that was kind of exciting.
What's that?
Yeah.
We're getting some work done at our house, and that's not really the exciting news, but they had to open up one of the crawl spaces in our house, and there's this giant box, and we're like, what the heck is this?
Ooh, mystery box.
Yeah. So we opened the box, and it's a 1995 10-inch focal 4.5 Equate Starfinder telescope
No
is
way.
sitting in our crawl space.
Hell yeah.
Whoa.
And we even have the original receipt from the company that shipped it in California to the whatever owner is. And they lived in Connecticut at the time. And I was like, what the heck? So
Hell yeah.
that was kind of cool.
That's
So you
amazing.
So we're going to have to get that out,
So you just
dust it
left
off.
it up there?
Yeah, they just left
You
it up
found this
there in a
treasure
crawl
and you just
space.
left it up there. Board it back up. Next owners will find it.
Well, it's like it was in the crawl space and then they put a big layer of foam board and then they closed it up and it just forgot about it. I was like,
Dang.
all right. So
Yeah, dust that thing off.
gonna have to
Put it
find
to use.
some dark skies.
Heck yeah.
You were, for maybe 2 summers ago, pretty into astrophotography, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to talk about because you and I became quote unquote second shooters like around 2016, and it was at Bryan's wedding.
Little thing called
'Cause we were
Bryan's
both-
wedding.
Yeah, we got into photography a lot. And it was
well,
mostly
you more than me. I mean, I can point a camera and stuff, but you were more interested in it in the kind of artistic styles. But at Bryan's wedding, it was just funny because I think our friend Corey, who was actually doing the photography, had a couple extra cameras or something, and we just were taking dumb pictures and called ourselves the second shooters.
Yeah, the second shooters trademark.
And Spenny and I were talking about this, Bri, but do you remember the picture of Spenny and I in Corey's apartment when we were all getting ready? And it's black and white, and it's us sitting, I don't know, next to each other. And the caption was "second shooters," but neither of us can find it. And so I don't know if it ended up in your wedding album or not.
Well, I'm sure it is. And I have that link, so I'll send it once we're on the other side of this thing. We'll uncover the. If you're going to talk about it, we're going to have to share it.
You might as well just convert this entire podcast to the second shooters. Oh, we lost Bryan. See ya.
He gone. Oh
Had
man,
him for a moment. And he
We were
was
really
gone
rolling there,
as
too.
Quickly as he was here.
Oh, here he comes.
Typical Bri, just leaving.
Just hangs up. Oh yeah, now we can't hear you.
Yeah, now
Classic.
we can't hear you, man.
Oh,
Brand
man.
new laptop. Can't get anything to work.
Can't get anything to work. Audio extraordinaire. Well, one thing that I was going to bring up is one thing we talk about is like full disclosures.
Yep.
And I thought that was fitting for this show because explanation of full disclosures, we call it FDs. But it's like something when you need to tell, like for us, it'll be kind of talking to you guys as the audience and us as co-hosts of things that we honestly didn't know when we probably should have, or, stuff we may have lied about and then we had to confess, or, sometimes it's just having, we've taken kind of put our stake in the ground and then we come around and be like, you know what? Yeah, I've changed my view on that. So I do have a full disclosure, and that's,
Oh, man.
I started watching The Expanse, and it's been pretty good.
Been pretty good, huh? Nice. All right, that's a good full disclosure.
Yeah.
What? So, as I recall, your issue with the first time that you watched it was one of the characters wore a fedora or something, and you just couldn't get over that.
I just couldn't get over it. And seeing it the second time, it doesn't bother us much because I realize like he's part of it, but he's not as important as maybe I envisioned or remembered. So
Yeah.
no, it's been pretty good. And I forgot how star-studded that cast is. Like there's so many people that I've seen in other shows and movies. So pretty good.
You know what? The Expanse is a pretty realistic interpretation of or vision of the future.
Sure.
And it's just about humanity as spread throughout the solar system. And it captures things really well, like when spaceships are under thrust or acceleration, then that's when there is local gravity or the appearance of local gravity. And so, but when they're not under thrust, it's more of a 0G kind of atmosphere. And they do that, they capture that really well. And they do, the confines are such that they have to deal with time delays for communication and how long it takes to get from point A to point B within the solar system. One of my favorite things about that series is their phones, their little communicators.
A little glass.
The little plastic thing, right, that has a hologram. I want that so much because I want to just have a little device thing that's just transparent. You just flick it up,
flick it up, and it goes on your TV.
There's a UI that you share everything between everyone by just flicking in their just general direction. Go, pew!
So you prefer that over the floppy mouse?
Oh, from After Earth, the floppy mouse pad.
Yeah,
I think the floppy mouse pad has its
frustrations,
but as a foldable thing, it's pretty sweet. Why not have a mouse pad, right? No, he's gone. He's gone.
We'll just keep the show going. Classic. I had something about a book, a kid's book. I was going to read you a little poem because how weird it is.
That's sweet. You're going to read me a poem?
Yeah, man, it's weird.
That could be a great cold open.
Okay, here.
What we just did.
We're waiting. It's Shel Silverstein. This one's A Light in the Attic. Okay,
that makes sense. All right.
Do you know what this poem's called? Skin Stealer.
Okay.
This evening I unzipped my skin and carefully unscrewed my head, exactly as I always do when I prepare myself for bed. And while I slept, a cuckoo came, as naked as I could be, and put up on the skin and screwed on my head that once belonged to me. Now wearing my feet, he runs through the street in the most disgraceful way, doing things and saying things I'd never do or say, tickling the children and kicking the men and dancing the ladies away. So if he makes your bright eyes cry or makes your poor head spin, that scoundrel you see is not really me. That's the cuckoo who's wearing my skin.
Yikes. That is multiple personality disorder.
It was like this weekend we were just, I don't know, it was in our bookcase and I was just like reading some of them and I remembered some of them, but then I got to that one and I was like, what the
This is clearly a schizophrenia thing. Is that where the sidewalk ends or is it the other one?
This is Light in the Attic.
Well, we lost Bryan. And we've just sat here for the last 15 minutes.
Hoping he'd come back, but
it doesn't look like it. So we had him for a moment.
We lost him.
But we'll be back. Where we left off was with the full disclosure. Spenny introduced a new segment, FDs.
FDs.
And I have a full disclosure.
What is it?
You sent me a text a couple days ago saying that I should expect something in the mail. And
yeah. Oh, gosh, I already forgot.
I have it right here.
Awesome.
It's an Amazon package.
Perfect.
It's addressed to Jordan Anderson Daniels, 4A to 10. Very excited. So I'm gonna open it live on air.
Oh, I can't wait. This is gonna be great.
Just cutting into it right now.
I can really hear it. It's quite the.
It's a book.
Yeah, it's a book.
What is 60 hikes within 60 miles of Nashville?
What? Is that what got sent to you? That's not the right one.
Oh, wait a minute. Full disclosure, I opened it by mistake. And what actually came was a book.
Jackass. Where the heck the hikes book come from?
So
Who reads hiking books anymore?
this is an amazing title of the book, though. The title of the book is Seeking Perfection, the Unofficial Guide to Tremors.
I can't believe you opened it.
Well, I'm sorry. It was I forgot too that I was supposed to expect something.
It was so memorable.
I was so hyped when you sent me the text saying, "I'm going to send you something. You got to open it live on air. Don't open it anytime soon."
Rip.
Oh, it's a
Crap.
book. A book. I saw Tremors and I thought, oh, and then I read the for 8-10 thing, and so this is amazing. I haven't looked at the book. I saw what it was, but awesome. This is still a mystery to me. It says this is written by Jonathan Melville, forward by Michael Gross, who played Bert.
Yep. It's got to have some legitimacy.
This is a long
then
book. This book, this guide to Tremors, has an appendix. With the appendix, it is 276 pages.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chapter 3, filming. Okay, let me go through the table of contents here.
I mean, it looked good. I mean, I saw that Michael Gross had provided the forward to it, so I had to say it has some legitimacy to the Tremors franchise.
Oh, man. Oh, interesting. I'm not seeing anything in reference to Tremors 6 in the contents. Okay, prologue. From Small Beginnings. Chapter 1, Catching the Filmmaking Bug. Chapter 2, Selling Perfection. Chapter 3, Filming Tremors. Chapter 4, Going Deeper Underground. Chapter 5, Reshoots, Re-edits, and Release. Chapter 6, Tremors 2, Aftershocks. Tremors 3, Back to Perfection. Tremors 8, or Chapter 8, Tremors, the series. There's a series?
There's a series?
What? This might have to be another episode.
It's totally for it.
Whoa. I didn't know there was a series.
Didn't either.
Okay.
Chapter 9.
Chapter 9, Tremors, the series episode guide. Okay, there's 2 chapters on the series. Tremors 4, The Legend Begins. That's where Bert goes back in time.
Right.
Chapter 11, Beyond Perfection. Chapter 12, The Road to Tremors 5. And then epilogue, Tremors at 25. There's an appendix, acknowledgement, and references. Who's going to fact check this?
6 and 7 just got omitted because they doesn't matter.
This didn't exist.
I'm surprised 5 made it, but
well, let me check the copyright date here.
Oh yeah, that's true. I have a feeling they're not going to add additional versions.
Yeah, copyright 2015. Yep, I don't think.
Oh yeah, 2018 and 2022 or 2020. Well, that's awesome.
Episode
I hope you like
10,
it.
Graboid writes, how did you find this?
I was trying to find something about Michael Gross. I was actually trying to see if there was a way I could figure out how to get him on the show, but there was no way to get him.
Epic.
So couldn't get it. But somehow I stumbled upon like some fan pages, and then I got a link to that, like an affiliate link to Amazon, and then I ordered that for you. Because I thought it was pretty sweet.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. This was very surprising.
I hope you enjoy those 60 hikes, because I bet there's a lot of good places to go in Nashville for hiking.
Right. Can't believe this exists.
I think that guy's written some other ones too. So
Some other Tremors books?
Not Tremors. I think he does some other unofficial guides and stuff.
Unofficial.
Yep.
He probably has to pay a license fee for all
sure.
this.
Well, he probably just has like the main character, write the foreword, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm clear."
Yeah.
We should try that. Probably good business. All right.
Excellent.
Well, that's awesome. Glad that was perfect. Just how we expected it to go.
Mm-hmm. Should we talk about this dumb movie?
Well, you picked it. What movie are we talking about today?
We're talking about The Time Machine.
2002 Time Machine. Because there is one from the 1960.
Which we considered. But
we did.
We both watched the trailer and we thought, nah. That's not happening.
Nah, brah.
That can't happen.
Here, I'll give you a quick synopsis of the movie, okay?
Okay, I'm excited to hear this because you wrote this, right?
I wrote it because you asked me if I wrote the last one. I was like, nah, I didn't.
No.
Okay.
All right.
Dr. Alexander Hartigan is a young professor who believes time travel is possible. After a tragic loss of the woman he loves, Dr. Hartigan devotes his life to building a time machine that can take him back to save her life. When he learns he can't save her life, he goes into the future where he sees incredible technological advances, and it's only a matter of time that humans destroy their beloved planet. Dr. Hartigan finds himself 800,000 years in the future to a world he does not recognize, with life separated into two groups of humans, the Elios and the Morlocks.
Hell yeah. Nice work.
Yeah, thanks.
Very well done.
This is based on a book, yet again. It's a sci-fi book that's more than 100 years old.
Yep.
So there's a common theme here. I don't know why we keep doing this.
Yep.
But it was written by H.G. Wells, which, full disclosure, I did think for a while that H.G. Wells and Orson Welles were related in some way, but spelled differently, and there's no connection whatsoever.
Yep, that's fair. This was actually, I did some small amount of research on this. This was one of his first books, actually.
Yeah. Did you? So like 3 of the books he wrote in like the first 4 years were this, Invisible Man, and War of Worlds, all before 1900.
All made into movies.
Yeah.
Several movies, or several iterations.
Well, yeah,
of
different
movies.
variations. Invisible Man was made 3 times, 1933, 1984, and 2020. And then War of the Worlds was made twice, 1953 and 2005. And then Time Machine, 1960 and 2002. Which I thought was interesting because he was on a heater with books.
Yep.
Like there was a new book every single year at least.
Oh, interesting.
So.
I think technically this was considered a novella. So it must have been pretty short. And one of the other things I found interesting was that the first, or the use of the term time machine is credited to this book and H.G. Wells, actually.
Cool.
It, I guess, didn't appear in any kind of print or even as an idea that a machine could go back in time.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, especially think 1895. Like what kind of imagination would you have to have back then to think of something like that?
Don't know.
Did you see his great grandson was the director of this? Simon Wells.
I did see that too.
Yeah.
I think we read the same Wikipedia article.
Probably. Probably.
I think the Wikipedia article was more interesting than the movie.
Yeah, it was. Budget was $80 million. This made $123 million. So
wow,
came up ahead. Okay, so I'm going to start with the first thing because there's something that just drives me nuts with this kind of movie. So the opening scene is at a college, and Dr. Alexander Hartigan is a professor, and he is at the blackboard writing formulas, right? And then his buddy comes in. He's like, "Aren't you gonna be late?" And he's like, "What?" He's like, "You're late for your friend late for your date with Emma." And he's like, "Oh man!" And this is always every movie where there's a professor and he's a nerd. He gathers all his papers, gathers them up, and he has to run out because he's late for something because he always forgets that he has somewhere he needs to be. Every single movie has this. I mean,
don't know.
It's in the cartoon.
it's especially annoying in this context because this homie is all about time, right? And controlling time. He can't keep track of time. There's scenes with here. He has a collection of pocket watches.
Yeah.
And a pocket watch is kind of a big deal later on in the movie. And so the only purpose of a pocket watch is to keep track of time.
Literally.
Right? And he can't do that so the establishing shot of him as a character is him as with no concept of time management.
Right.
Yet he builds this time machine to manage time.
Gosh. But then, they walk back and they get to his house because he's got to get changed for this date that he has with his girlfriend, Emma. But did you hear this line when he walks in the door? "Hello, Mrs. Watchett. You're looking in the pink."
Yeah. I think that, I
just like...
I noticed that and I thought, wow, that's some just stupid old-timey, phrase.
It was just such a weird thing to hear.
Well, did you notice how trash the audio was when they were walking to his house?
Oh, yeah. You could hardly... It was like the boom. It was the boom mic guy. He just couldn't keep up with him.
He got caught in the horse traffic, horse and buggies.
Though I will say one thing. Like once I get to their house, I don't know. There's movies from this time, like in the 90s and early 2000s. They're kind of like old school, but like the sound of footsteps walking on the wood floors. I've always liked that noise. Where it's like, I don't know why. I just think that's cool. Not relevant to anything.
That reminds me of footsteps. Audible footsteps is a theme I've noticed in the older James Bond movies. There's always the click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack, click, clack.
Right.
And I don't know. It's always stood out in my memories for every single James Bond movie prior to maybe Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just the pitter patter of footsteps. So, where are we? So, okay, this guy, he's a professor and he's courting this woman and he's going to propose to her that night. And I guess he's had a string of bad lucks because he's middle-aged or something and he's unmarried. And so he just can't seem to connect with the people that he's tried to be romantically involved with. And in no small part, probably due to his erratic behaviors of being obsessed with his work.
Obsessed with work, but can never keep track of time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So whatever, they go. The date is they go to a nice skating rink, but they don't skate. And
he's supposed to bring flowers. Like that's the big thing, and he gets distracted because he's going to get picked flowers, and then he runs into a guy that has a steam car, and he's like, "Oh my god! Like, how does it work?
How do you manage the steam differentials and the different pressures?"
Yeah, exactly.
And it was just dumb. It just
and it was one of those they tried to make one of those classic things where like she's wearing red, everyone else is wearing black and brown.
Yep.
Like trying to
she stands out. She's very distinct within the crowd. And so he doesn't want to skate though for some reason. He's anxious to propose. And so he proposes. They go for a walk around Central Park, I guess.
Yep.
And he proposes. So he proposes with he gives her a ring. It's not a diamond ring. It's a moonstone ring.
Moonstone.
Now, moon kind of becomes important later in the movie. And for reasons that aren't important at all in the movie, her birthstone is a moonstone. But I thought this was odd because he's this genius scientist and his decision-making process was influenced by astrology, essentially, for the ring. And whatever. So, but then they get mugged. There's some guys lurking in the bushes and he gets mugged.
So weird.
And he's the main guy, Alex, is very happy to comply. The homies is like, "Oh, this is very sweet then, isn't it? All right. Let me send you on your way.
This will be your first bump in the road.
First bump in the road then, isn't it? All right, give me all your stuff then. You guys can talk about this later." he starts handing over his wallet and, all right, give me the monies. Hand me over the wallet and the watch. And he's all happy to, oh yes, certainly, sir. Thank you, sir. You deserve my money. Thank you. Oh, of course, you can have my pocket watch. But then 20 milliseconds after he gives her the ring, he then has to give it up to this burglar because he saw the whole thing, right? And he sees this piece of jewelry, which is probably the only valuable thing that they had to offer. And the burglar says, oh, and the ring too, then heading over, isn't it? And so she doesn't want to because now it's sentimental. And the worst confrontation happens where they're just kind of struggling, and then he just shoots her.
The gun was literally pointed at Emma, and then he just grabs the gun, and the guy's like, and then he just pulls the trigger.
Yeah.
Like, yep, you did.
Well, it was your fault then, wasn't it? Should have gave me the ring. I didn't have to shoot her. That's just your fault. And so she's dead. So she's dead. And then the next scene is him at his chalkboards. I don't know, sometime later.
Exponential growth on the chalkboards, by the way. He starts with 1 and then he has 8.
Yeah. So 1 beard length of time later.
Yeah.
He has all these chalkboards covered in just gibberish.
Formulas.
Right? Equations and electrons and whatnot. And his friend that I guess introduced him to Emma, or it doesn't matter. It's a friend that's in the movie for about 23 milliseconds, and it doesn't matter. He's there and he's concerned because he hasn't seen Alex, and Alex said, I'm busy. I'm working.
I'm burying myself in my work. Yeah.
Brad, I don't have any time for, it's ironic, right? He says, I don't have any time for to hang out with you or to eat or to sleep. I'm so close to figuring this out. Homie's building a time machine. He doesn't have any time, right? And so he says, get out, right? I'll see you next week. And then he does this little line where his friend walks out of the room and he says, in next week, it won't even be next week, or something stupid. Like that, right?
He does. Yep. But then, it does that scene where it like shows the like velvet curtain, and then the next thing is his face is shaved, and he's like grabbing a watch that Emma gave him, and all of a sudden it's just he walks over, opens that, boom, time machine.
Time machine. It's just a full-blown time machine.
Steampunk sci-fi.
Did it strike you as odd that he grabbed the watch that was stolen from him?
Yes. That's exactly what I thought.
He had this collection of watches that then he specifically chose one to have on that date. It got stolen. She died. And then he still has it. Right?
Gosh. Yes.
So he unveils this time machine. It looks super dumb, and
it's full of brass. Everything in old times,
and levers and pulleys, and it operates by steam. And
it's got a glass door handle. Turns the speed.
Turns the time. You know what the most annoying thing about that stupid thing was? Is it was basically a plush chair sitting on a device.
Yep. And
there were kind of mirrored segments in the front and the back of all of these gears and brass things.
Yep.
Brass ruler things. And this was so annoying. Every single time he approached or got in or got off of this time machine, he had to unrope that stupid little step.
Yes.
It was this step that could kind of hinge up on itself to get out of the way. This time machine doesn't move. You need to understand this. It's completely stationary within the spatial coordinates that it was built on, right? And the step that he unhinges to get on the time machine and then rehinges when he's in the time machine to save half a foot of space,
right,
isn't doesn't exceed this little time bubble that he makes for himself, right?
Yes.
So he has to continuously do and undo this stupid step, and he has this time machine, right? And he's anchoring this step by a piece of twine. He has to spool up and then unspool and stuff. And
Oh gosh.
it happens, I don't know, 6 or 7 times in the movie.
Yep.
This stupid little step.
Yeah, it always points out, like every time he gets in, it's like, bloop. How do we lift this thing up?
Yeah.
Well, after that, he obviously his goal is to go back in time. So, boom, he goes back. He goes back to really live the night that Emma was killed, and he tries to change it. And wouldn't you know it, she still gets killed.
Yeah, she gets run over by that stupid steam car that he.
Because he helped the guy the first time learn how to stop it, but this time when he goes back, the guy doesn't know how to stop it because he didn't tell him, and she gets run over by it.
Yep. So he realizes in that moment that, I guess determinism, where the past can't be changed.
Yeah, he says the line. His friend says the lines, or one of them says the lines. I could come back 1,000 times and watch her die 1,000 ways.
Yeah. So keep this in mind as we continue to talk about this. He says, "I cannot change the past." Okay, so keep that in mind as you're listening to this, because it's not the same later on. There's a difference, pretty big difference. He realizes later.
Well, then
and I wanted to talk about how time travel is depicted differently in so many different movies, right? Back to the Future was obviously probably the most famous, and then most recently the Avengers, Endgame, that kind of stuff. This one was interesting in that all the other iterations were more of a I'm going to go back to a point in time, right? They're going to appear at a specific point in time. This depiction was he is reversing time. And so it was different in the sense that he's not arriving anywhere. He has to wait. He has to spend time within this machine to go backwards and forward in time. And so he makes this little isolated bubble, essentially. And that, I guess that's kind of neat. I don't know. It's whatever, but
I mean, it is interesting how it's different than what you kind of think of with time travel and other sci-fi. I mean, it is. Yeah. That was a unique piece, but that was probably the only unique piece of this movie.
Yeah. But he makes a point. So when he goes back in time to save Emma, they don't go into the park, so they don't get mugged. So they go on a different kind of walk. And he says that I have to leave now, and you will be visited by me asking where you were, and you just have to play along. So where this breaks down is that unlike all the other manifestations of time travel in other media, there's 2 instances of the people, right? They don't want to create a paradox by having both people
in the same place
see each other in the same place, right? Even though that's never really made sense to me, because one of the persons knows about the other person and the other person doesn't. So why does it? Anyways. But in this sense, he shouldn't be there, right? Because he's reversing time. So if he was going to be, if his past self was going to be there, then when he walked up into the time machine and started activating it, he should have saw himself get out of it and walk away, but he didn't.
Yep.
I don't know. That's not the point of this movie. The movie sucked anyways, and that's not.
That was a deep analysis of time travel right there.
Yeah. My theory on how this little machine of his works is that he is within this bubble changing the speed of light around him, and such that I guess when he goes into the future, the speed of light would accelerate. well, his local speed of light would stay the same or something. I don't know.
We haven't figured out time travel yet, so
we haven't figured out. Well, I think mathematically time travel has been figured out.
Theoretical time travel.
Wormholes.
Well, wormholes.
Wormholes have mathematically been solved a while ago. And the reason we don't know how to use them is because it would require this concept of negative energy to create the fold within space-time. And so far as we know, that isn't possible.
Steep.
But that's a wormhole stuff. All right, so where are we at?
That is too deep for this movie.
Yeah.
Well, so he decides, screw it. I'm going to go in the future and see what I can figure out. And he sits there and he just watches as everything changes around him. Like the big thing is like the store across the street, and like the ladies' garments keep going up, like shorter skirts and stuff. And then he ends up in the year 2030. They're all bikes, no cars, super futuristic. And he goes to a museum, and lo and behold, there is this guy called the Vox system, which is a photonic memory core.
It's a hologram.
Hologram.
Yeah.
It's Orlando Jones.
Just an AI, right? Just AI.
Just AI. And he's got all of human knowledge stored in the PMC, as they call it. It's like this big round orb. It has all the stored.
So he goes to the New York Library.
Yeah.
Which is pretty famous. Did you notice how terrible the green screen was for that?
Well, I mean,
at the entrance, they couldn't just film in front of the library, right? With an $80 million budget, they had to green screen it in.
No, wasn't.
They didn't have to be in it.
Wasn't on location. Also, the thing that was great is that there was no one in that museum.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, he's trying to figure out like what's happened, and so he asks some questions about time travel, and then they start reading off names of famous sci-fi writer. That like H.G. Wells. Is Herlin Ellison a real person? I didn't know who that was.
I don't know.
And then Isaac Asimov, right?
Yeah, I thought it was very meta that they in the movie referenced the movie or the book that this was based on.
Yeah. And he also at the end says "live long and prosper," but he does it wrong.
Oh, you noticed that, right? You noticed that? Yeah, he does the Vulcan hand sign, but he doesn't move his thumb out. Yeah. So it's just the V. Yeah. It should be the I guess W.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But anyways, he decides he didn't get enough information there, and he forwards farther into 2037, and all of a sudden the time machine is rocked. So he's like, oh, I better stop. And he stops, and then you see that the moon is falling apart, and there's an apocalypse, basically, because they were trying to settle on the moon, and they did something to blow it up, and he gets caught by some soldiers trying to get him to go to a safe space, and he's like, no, and he gets back in the time machine, but gets knocked out, and
he
just
super
accelerates to the year 802,701.
Yeah, it shows these geological time epochs that pass. New York City has become a Grand Canyon, and and I mean that kind of stuff takes millions, tens of millions of years. Right? It hasn't even been 1 million years.
Through an ice age too. That's pretty great.
Through an ice age,
lush forest, great.
And then he wakes up, and then he wakes up again, and then he's in his tree fort, and
there's just somebody's like helping him and speaking a different language.
So he eventually regains consciousness in this little tree fort, and
they still had chameleons. Did you notice that?
Yep. Chameleons were immune to they're still humans, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Might as well be chameleons. But he wakes up, there's these young group of people that speak a different language, although one person, the person that was helping him, speaks English, perfect English.
Perfect English.
And later you come to find out that they teach all their kids English through the use of, to them, ancient artifacts of New York City architecture.
Like stones.
So, stones, yeah. Building building stone names and things. So the Grand Canyon formed through New York City, but these stones retained their
Erosion
pigments.
does not exist
Yeah.
in the future.
Well, it existed to make a Grand Canyon, but not enough to
it's subjective.
take off a Tiffany sign.
Yeah.
So is any of this interesting?
I mean, no, basically everything comes down. It's very primitive. So they live on the cliffs in these like little huts that are attached to the side of the cliff. And they, during the night, hide down. They don't go anywhere. He has a vision of this weird guy that looks like a night walker. And the next day they go and she shows him these windmills that they have and finds his time machine. So she's like, this is where we found you. And then all of a sudden these like paper mache headed ogres start attacking them, and they grab the people and they sink into the sand and they go underground.
Yeah, there's this gigantic fight scene where they're capturing live people, and to escape, these little group of schmeagles just dive into a quicksand pond. they just nosedive into these sand pits. It's so ridiculous. They emerge from the beach, and then they just diving board dive into this sand pit to escape. And at one point, Alex is being chased, and he ascends one of these windmills to do what? Where's he going to go?
He's just trying to get away. I don't know why.
These are have monkey-like in every respect.
Yeah, they've
in the
evolved
sense that they can climb everything. They're more. They can walk on their hands and stuff. And I don't know. It was just so ridiculous. And then, did you notice that the sounds that they make are? It sounded like a clip art stock thing for a cow or something, right? It's something you could find in PowerPoint.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, the whole outfit, that's what I mean. It looked like paper mache outfit, their heads. Well, anyways, all these people get taken. Mara, I think that's the main girl's name. She gets taken, and he's trying to figure out where she is, and this kid takes him to the museum. He's back. And that guy's still, the library is still there. His hologram still somehow works 800,000 years later. And he learns about the... Sorry, choked. Oh. He learns about there's two different races of humans. So there's the Morlocks, who decided to stay underground to survive, and the Elios, who have stayed above. But somehow the Morlocks have developed these insane powers and stuff.
Did you notice that? So the hologram is telling the main character this, Alex, but the kid that took Alex there is there the whole time. Mm-hmm. He's sitting off to the side, and so this hologram is telling Alex all of this. When he finishes, he looks at the kid, he winks at the kid, and just makes a bah.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Doesn't make any sense. I think he's probably, I don't know, obviously programmed somehow that make weird noises to kids.
So you see, humanity evolved two different distinct species after the fall of the moon, the Elios and the Miralax. One lives above ground and one lives below ground. Isn't that right? Bah. I was like, what? What is this? So anyways, the AI says that if you really want to find your friend, just start walking east, and you're going to know when you're there.
You just go to this cave with a sculpture on the top.
Yeah.
So he basically is going back to find Mara, and he goes down this cave thing. And it's literally, isn't it just like the orgs from Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Or are they just making iron? They just spinning gears.
Yeah, so there's infrastructure down in these pits, and there are gears, there are machines, right? Everyone above ground is completely primitive, clay pots is I think the extent of what they are capable
Right.
of. And yet you go below ground with these monkeys, and there's gigantic cogs and wheels and machines running for no obvious purpose.
Yeah,
And it's just the monkeys grunting around. And then Alex is exploring in secret, and he finds that basically everyone's dead.
Yep.
And then he falls in this pit of skeletons. Then he gets captured, and then he gets put in this dungeon where he finds Mara is still alive, but she's in this cage within this dungeon.
Yeah, he's in Harry Potter's Chamber of Secrets.
Yes.
And with the Night King, which his name in the credits is Uber Morlock.
Uber
Morlock.
Is that the species, Morlocks?
Yeah, Morlocks.
Okay. But he looks nothing like him. He looks like a
Well, yeah,
rhino.
I mean, when he's talking, I mean, he's basically saying we've figured out a way. We've turned some people into beasts, and I have this incredible power, and like he can control them. He has mind control.
Yeah, this other caste of underground humans evolved to have super brain powers. And you see later that when he turns around, his entire spinal column is also brain.
Yeah.
So he's turned his entire central nervous system into just one giant brain.
That was actually cool. And Jeremy Irons, who's the guy that played that, I love his voice. I think he's awesome.
Yeah. And so he...
Probably the only good character in that.
Yeah. Since Alex had been there, he had this nightmare of he saw this Miralax's face or whatever, and didn't know
Miralax.
who it was, but during that dream, which the dreams are, every child has that dream, and it's so that the people learn to stay away from this place, essentially. But when they dream, the Uber Miralax can read their minds, and so the Uber knows all about Alex and how he made this time machine and how he arrived here and what he's doing and what he hoped to find anyways. So he knows all about his dead wife and how he wants to find answers to bring her back.
Yep.
And so he shows him this vision of what appears to be a good life.
Mm-hmm. What life could be.
What life could be. But then he says, so now you know it can never be.
Yep.
Right? Did you catch that? He said, Look over there if you want to see how things could have turned out. And so he did, and there was this whole scene, and he thought he was there. And it was Emma, and they had 2 kids, and they were in that house, and it all looked great. And then the vision ended, and then the Uber guy said, so obviously it's not going to work. And he says, what? So then he gives him his time machine.
Yeah.
So they captured his time machine during this back time or whatever, and they bring it down to the cave, and he says, all right, see you later. So he shows him.
That's it.
He went to the future to figure out why he can't change the past. When he's in the future, he finds this advanced being who can read his mind, and he understands these temporal problems and says, yo, that's what you're missing out on. All right, that's awesome. Oh, and here's your time machine, and bye. But you can't change the past still. So then he gets in the time machine and realizes that, I don't know, I guess he can't change the past, so he might as well try and save Moira or
Mara.
Whoever.
Yeah, Maya.
Whoever.
Mara.
I don't know. So,
he basically, I mean, he turns the thing on. He fights the Nightwalker Uber Morlock on the time machine. And I mean, the way he finally kills this guy is he pushes him off and he falls, and he's getting strangled by the Uber Morlock, but he's outside of the perimeter, and so his body fades away and dies, but his hands finally let go. And then he goes back to save Maya, gets her out of the cage.
No, wait. So this is what I was alluding to before. He accelerates so farther than he did before. He gets to the year...
Oh, yeah.
He goes to 900 million, right? more than 100 times where he was at. And it's exactly the same.
Well, the Morlocks took over because they're now on the surface.
But the Morlocks took over and are exactly the same.
Yes.
And no evolution happened in 100 million years.
It's perfection.
And so what he realizes, he now sees the future. Mm-hmm. So he goes back in time to save Moira. And she says, why'd you come back? And he says, so I can change the future. Okay. But he can't change the past. So if he knows how to change the future, then he can just go back farther in time to where before, I don't know, Emma gets killed and change that future.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the other things the Uber Morlock guy said too is there's multiples of him.
Oh, more casts. Yeah. So there's more.
Well, he said there's more like
societies.
Him.
Yeah. So he was just in one little city.
Yeah. So his
city, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the part that I was like, was it? So after he gets back, so after he goes 9 million years, this is
900 million years.
This is so stupid. He gets back to Maya, saves her. He turns the time machine off. All the dumb gorillas walk in there. He gets them. They're all like looking at it, and they run away. They almost get caught, but he gets out, and then the thing explodes, and it destroys the entire city of the Morlocks.
Yeah,
right?
He sets off a time grenade so that everyone within that city gets accelerated to the future. So they just, once the time barrier hits them, they just age so fast they go to skeletons and dust. But that time grenade only operates within the confines of rock, right? Because when they get to the surface, it fine.
Stops. Yeah, it makes sense.
And then did you notice that when him and Myra were running away and they get to the point where they can climb up to the surface, and he says, I'm going to distract him. Just climb. The only options for them are to go up or further down, right? And so the gorilla people are chasing him. And so he says, wait, I'm going to throw our scent off. So he takes time to take off his vest and just chuck it down the chasm.
Doesn't matter. They didn't even care.
When they get to that point, they immediately just look up and see it.
Yeah. Well, it's because he got shot, right? Because he got stabbed, but we never talked about the darts.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
doesn't
makes
matter.
as much sense.
Well, anyways, vaporizes him. Then it's like this happy ending, and it has this like split screen, like parallel view of him back at his house and then in his future, and it's like him smiling and happy, and it ends.
That's where it ends.
You know, when we talk about it, it's worse.
It's so bad.
It was so bad. Like, oh man.
Goodness. It's rating time. As a reminder, this show is called Ascension to 10.
Yeah.
So our 11-point rating system starts at Ascension.
11
goes up to
point.
10. Let me pull up our tally here. What you giving it?
Well, so it was I didn't read the book, but I feel like this was a terrible adaptation. I do think we need to put a moratorium on people adapting a 100-year-old book to sci-fi nowadays, because I don't think it works. I think we're proofing that. But I still... So in this movie, I still can't get over the fact that, one, the carvings still exist, and a computer system survived 800,000 years. It doesn't make any sense.
Perpetual motion machine.
So I'm giving this a 1.1.
All right. 1.1 for Spenny. That puts it slightly above Tremor 6.
It's close.
I can't get over this stupid step that he had to latch it up with twine in this time machine. Just have it be down. Just have the step be down.
It doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter. It goes all the way to the ground. That is what the circle does. It goes like 10 feet in the air and goes to the ground. It does not matter.
So far, you've given a real number value to all of our scores, and I've given integers. And I'm going to break my mold here. I'm going to go. You gave Tremors 6 a 0.9. I'm going to go 0.9.
All right.
On the time.
It's really bad, man.
It sucks.
Okay. So that's the end of that one.
That's the end of that. So Bryan told us that he had a typical day story for us.
Yep, because we'll have to wait
And
to
that
hear it.
clearly isn't happening. So I feel like I could provide a typical day story.
Let's hear it.
This is one that happened many years ago, but it's a pretty funny one. It's in the same vein of the Fuddruckers story. Similar stakes were had here. Okay.
Is this at a restaurant a food establishment?
Yeah. Yep. It is food related. I work on a medical campus, and there is to call this a restaurant would be pretty gracious. It's basically fast food, but it's more of a pastry. I don't want to name it, but it's more of a pastry type fast food place, but they sell sandwiches and salads, and they have a soup bar and stuff. So I don't know if you can put things together, you might be able to guess what that
Sounds
is.
like an airport coffee shop.
It's something you can find in an airport.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think there used to be a McDonald's, and then they transitioned to this.
So everybody's getting fat.
But this food's just as bad, right?
Okay, anyways.
And so anyways, this is while I was still in grad school, and I would, despite hating every time I was in there, I would still go there out of habit sometimes, especially if I had a class or something. So this one morning I went and grabbed a plain bagel out of the little bagel basket, right? And this thing wasn't toasted. It wasn't even cut. It was a plain bagel. I didn't get cream cheese. I didn't interact with anyone to get this bagel, right? I grabbed it myself out of a bin, and I was hungry.
A bagel bin.
And I was kind of in a hurry. So I was standing in line at the cash register, and I just start eating it, okay? Because I'm going to pay for it anyways. What does it matter? I want to start eating it. When I get to the cash register, the teller, I said, just this plain bagel, please. And the teller hits every single button on the cash register. And she says, that'll be $3.76, please. I said, well, actually, this is, I don't have any cream cheese. This wasn't toasted or anything. It's just just plain bagel. Nothing on it. Oh, okay. Hits every single button twice now. So now she's hit every button 3 times on the thing. And she says, that'll be $4.76. And I just paid, right? I had to go, right? I just paid. And so that's half the story. I went there. I kept going, right? Because the interactions like this were almost daily, or almost every time I went, there was something like this.
Yeah, something goes wrong.
And they offered a punch card. So if every pastry, you get one free, right? So I had been, over time, this wasn't an everyday thing, but over time, I was accumulating these punches, and finally I had a complete punch card, okay?
Oh, great. Sounds great. Can't wait.
I blow this thing on a plain bagel. Almost exact same scenario. Plain bagel, not toasted, not cut, no accoutrements. Okay.
Why don't you just get cream cheese? It's probably cheaper.
I'm standing in line. I start eating it.
Oh my gosh.
I had no intentions of paying any real money. Okay. Any physical currency for this, or digital.
Right.
Because I had my completed punch card.
Cash that in.
And so I start eating this bagel in line again. And when I get to the cash register, I said, hi, I have this completed punch card for this one bagel. That's all I have. And the teller looks at it for half a nanosecond, looks at the card, and says, looks like one of those things was tampered. rips the card in my face and throws it away. And so then I had to pay for the bagel.
God, only you, Chad.
I know.
Why is it food? Why is it always?
I don't know. There wasn't enough time in the quantum realm for her to analyze the amount or quality of punches on this ticket. I hand it to her and she immediately says, "It looks like you tampered with this," rips it up in front of my face and throws it away. So typical day.
That's awesome. That's hilarious.
Yep.
That's a good one. All right.
Well,
so it's my turn to pick a movie, and I'm going to go way back or further back than we've gone. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to go to the 80s.
Okay.
Because some might say the 80s was probably the pinnacle of sci-fi.
All right.
Let's read this off to you. Original Dune, Star Trek, Star Wars, Planet of the Apes, Superman, Spaceballs, Weird Science, Terminator, The Abyss, Back to the Future, Mad Max, Transformers. That's pretty good.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to do it differently, though, because I'm not just going to say the name. I'm going to actually play you a little clip, Chad.
Oh, excellent.
And I'm not going to tell you what it is till later, unless you guess it. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
Here we go. See if you can hear this. Turn this up.
Here is the knowledge you seek.
I'm
The
dying
beast
to
has
know
many
what this
weapons.
is.
This was one of them.
Are you excited?
I'm excited.
Okay.
What am I in for?
Well, you'll have to find out.
Oh,
I'll tell you after the last episode comes out. After Earth comes out, I'll give it to you. So that means
that's not going to be for weeks.
that's a hanger, like a cliffhanger. So that means you need to subscribe to us at Ascension number 2, TEN, on Twitter and Instagram to find out more. And make sure you rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. And
Reach out to us.
Reach out to us. Boys at Ascension number 2, TEN.com. Let us know if you have a typical day or a FD, or if you have a recommendation for a movie to watch.
Yep.
Until next.
Or any thoughts on the previous movies that we've already reviewed.
Yeah. You have an experience with it.
Links, as always, will be in the description.
That's right.
And all right. Thanks for listening. If you made it this far.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. I'm Spenny. He's Jad. Talk to you later.
Peace.
Bye.